Everyone, well, I'm going to go through the gear that we'll need for a snow camp. There's quite a lot of it, and I'm not going to cover all the usual hiking gear that you would take for a normal overnight or weekend trip. I'm just going to focus on the things that you must have when you're out in the snow so that you can enjoy it. So first, we're going to start with some snowshoes. This is one particular model that I've got here. You can get them in all other kinds of shapes as well, but basically they strap onto a normal hiking boot, and then you can see these parts on the side, these teeth, give you traction in the snow. Make sure you have a pair before we arrive, as hiring facilities aren't guaranteed to be available at the site, so hire them from a good hiking shop before we leave. Next thing is some gaiters. So these are designed to be worn around the bottom part of your leg on top of the boot. These are necessary so that you don't have snow go up your trousers as you take steps through the snow. So a pair of gaiters as well, that's very important. Then the next snow hiking thing, snow camping thing that we'll need snow pegs. This is one snow peg that I've got. This is a normal peg that you would use in the sand or in the dirt or on grass or something like that. That's going to be completely useless in the snow because it will just slide right out. Something like this is what you'll need, and because my tent that I'm going to be using normally has 6 pegs, I'm going to have 6 snow pegs instead of these usual pegs. We'll go through how to use these in the snow once we get out there, but make sure you have 6 of these. You can pick them up. They're quite lightweight. Pick them up for about $3 or $4 from a good hiking shop. Now, while we're talking about tents, we'll need a good 4-season tent. This is mine here. Of course, there's lots of different kinds of tents. What does 4-season mean? It essentially refers to a tent's ability to shed snow as it falls on, so it doesn't all cave on top, much like a roof is sloped and the water doesn't end up puddling on the top. So make sure you have a 4-season tent. If you're not sure whether your tent is good for 4 seasons, check it out at a hiking store or something like that. The other thing to be aware of is not all 4-season tents are created equally, and particularly if you have a model like this one, where there's a conventional inner and outer layer. Sometimes the inner layer of a 4-season tent can be mesh. That's fine, but you'll find it extremely cold. So I recommend a 4-season tent with a fabric inner. Next, sleeping bags. Again, sleeping bags come in all different kinds. What you want to focus on is the temperature or the warmth rating on your sleeping bag. Now, bear in mind, these kinds of ratings are just recommendations. Everyone sleeps a little bit differently. Some people sleep warmer, some people sleep cooler. You'll know what's best for you. But the critical thing is to make sure that you have something with a comfort level of at least minus 3 or 4 or something like that. Because snow, by definition, will be at 0 degrees or colder. So something that will give you at least that kind of warmth. In addition to that, you'll need some kind of a sleeping bag liner. This one's made out of silk. You can get ones made out of cotton. You can also get ones which are quite thick and made out of thermal insulating material as well that go inside your sleeping bag. Make sure you have a sleeping bag liner. Now, when we're out in the snow, you will also need a sleeping mat, because otherwise you're just going to be sleeping on the fabric of your tent, and that's going to have direct contact with the snow, so it'll be freezing cold. Again, you can get all kinds of sleeping mats. This one's an inflatable one. I've rolled it out so I can show you what it's like. But you can get ones that are made out of foam or self-inflating ones as well. The point is you need some kind of sleeping mat. These ones that are fully inflatable have the advantage of fully compressing themselves. In addition to a camping sleeping mat like this, I also strongly recommend that you bring along something like a lightweight yoga mat. We call them a closed cell foam mat as well. So something like that costs maybe about $5-10 from a cheap shop. That can double as an additional sleeping mat layer and will make all the difference when we're out in the snow. So have at least one, but I highly recommend 2. One, something like this, another a foam a cheap foam yoga mat or something like that, which you can also then place on the snow and sit on when we're outside, when you're not in your tent. So that's all the stuff for sleeping in. Next, we'll talk about clothing. Beanie, absolutely essential. Gloves, also very critical. Now, this pair of gloves, this is just a normal pair of woolen gloves that you might wear if you're walking around the city. Completely useless. We don't want that. What we need is something that's a thermal glove. I've got a pair here. You'll find that they're usually made out of some kind of synthetic material. They keep you much warmer than a pair of gloves like this that you might wear around town. So you want a pair of gloves like that. In addition, you might also want an outer glove, something like this. The advantage of this glove is that it's waterproof. So the normal glove that you might have wearing during the day when you're out in the snow, something like this, could get wet, but as long as it's a proper glove, it will still keep you warm. The advantage of having another outer is it will keep your hands dry. This is a mitten. Mittens are slightly warmer than gloves. You may have your own preference which you prefer. This particular model of gloves also has its own inner. So I've got now a choice between gloves, inner gloves, inner mittens, as well as an outer layer as well. So I highly recommend that you have some other kind of waterproof outer. Now, separate to all of that, this is just a normal pair of ski gloves. They will do, but you'll find that ski gloves are usually not very waterproof. They may say they are, but usually you'll find that the kind of stitching and the construction won't keep out the water. Now, while we don't expect it to be raining, if you're out handling the snow, or if it does snow while we are out there, ski gloves might help, but you'd be much better off if you have a proper kind of waterproof hiking outer. So that's gloves. You want an inner pair, something like that, and if possible, some kind of outer as well. Next, you'll need thermal layers. These are pretty standard kinds of things that you have for normal hiking, but it's absolutely critical that you have a thermal top and a thermal bottom. You might want to wear them during the day, but you'll probably almost certainly want to be wearing them at night when you're sleeping. Socks will just be out for a weekend, so you can do with 2 pairs of socks. 2 pairs, and I say that because it will keep your feet much warmer if you wear them both at the same time. So here I've got a thin pair of socks, and then I've got a thicker pair of socks to be worn on top of the thin pair. Having 2 pairs of socks is extremely useful to keep your feet warm, because as you will know, your feet and your hands are parts of your bodies that the extremities will get very cold very quickly. So 2 pairs of socks for the one night that we'll be out there, or for the 2 days of walking that we'll be having. You might also want to seriously consider bringing, in addition to the pair of pairs of socks that you'll be wearing while we're walking, another pair that you can wear at night that will be dry. That will be very important as well. And then some other kinds of gear that we'll need. Head torch, pretty standard, you'll need one of them. I've also got a space blanket, emergency blanket there, spare pair of shoelaces, something to write on. I've got some post-it notes, but just bring a little bit of paper and a pencil. You never know when you might need to make some kind of notes, sketch a map, or some kind of thing like that. Even though we're going to be out in a group and we don't expect to get lost, it's good practice always to be carrying around a pencil and something to write on. So that's some basic gear there. You'll need the basic parts of a first aid kit. Each kit will have fairly standard stuff, band-aids, dressings, and so on. I've also got some water treatment tablets. The idea is that we will not be relying on melting snow to get water, because that's extremely inefficient. It will take a long time, and snow a particular volume of snow might reduce to only, say, 1/5 of that volume in water. So it's extremely inefficient to melt snow. If we do find a source of water, we will probably want to treat it. So that's why I've got some water purification tablets as well. Then the other final thing essential thing for snow hiking is a pair of sunnies. Any standard pair of sunnies will do. Obviously enough, it's going to be extremely bright, white light reflecting off the snow all the time, so you need something like that to walk through the snow comfortably in. Now, there are a few other things that you might want to seriously consider bringing along. This is a pretty standard balaclava that will come in extremely handy if the conditions are going to be windy, because you find it can be quite uncomfortable, bearable but quite uncomfortable in the kind of conditions that we might expect to see up around Mount Baw Baw. If it's windy, you'll find that one of these will make your life a lot more pleasant. And then for all of this stuff that we've talked about, it will need to go into a pack. So a standard hiking a pack there, but one thing that I've got in addition to a standard pack is a pack liner. And this is just a plastic pack liner, like a big plastic bag. If you don't have something like this, a garbage bag will do, but you probably want a couple of them because they'll tear quite easily. Whichever way you want to do it, you'll need some kind of plastic liner to have all your gear in, so that it can be kept dry if we do have rain or snow or something like that. So your pack will get wet, but with your liner, everything in it will stay dry. So you can see all the gear that we've gone through there. It's a lot of stuff, and this is just the basic stuff. I'm not talking about the usual clothes that you would wear when you're going on a weekend hike. All of this is absolutely critical for a safe snow hike.